Hello guys, welcome back to our DCS simulator. Now I call this DCSimXL Simulator. Okay. Now today we're going to be looking at something very interesting. I tell you, it's very interesting. All right. Now as you can see, I am currently in my home and I'm using a DCS simulator that functions almost exactly like the way it functions in the oil and gas in the refinery. All right, and this is free. This was programmed with Excel, the Excel you have in your system. Exactly. So I want to show you something important today, and I'm going to show you what you call crude intertank transfer. So what this means is that we are going to be carrying out an operation that involves transfer of crude from one storage tank to another. Okay, so in the oil and gas, or let's say in the refinery, crude are stored in a particular storage tank. It can be one, it can be two, it can be as many as possible. But then crude are stored in the storage tanks. Now, in the storage tanks, the crude is allowed to settle down because definitely we have some impurities in the crude. So we allow it to settle down, and then we can drain out, and then you do intertank transfer from the crude tank. You send it to another crude tank that is called the feeder tank. So the feeder tank is what feeds your process kit, okay, your process unit. So that is where you send, just to avoid maybe sending water or sending debris into your process unit. So you have to allow it to settle down from the storage tank, and then you send it to the feeder tank. So this video is trying to carry out an operation like that, and I'm going to make it sounds just like in a refinery or operationally, so that you can understand how it's being done. And this is mostly for people that want to learn DCS operation or even field operation, but most especially for DCS operation. All right, so this is how it's going to be done. Now we have two crude tank here. We have V307, and at the top here you see we have V305. So I think I've done a demonstration on this, transferring crude from our truck down to V307. So if you've not watched that video, you can go back and watch the video. All right, now here we want to transfer crude from 307, which is this tank here, to 305, which is the tank you're seeing right here. Okay, so that's this you're seeing here. Now let me take this, let me zoom out. Okay, now there are various means of doing this. So like I said, depending on the configuration of the plants, the refinery, depending on the configuration. So there are several ways of doing that, but I will just mention three ways that we can carry out this operation. Okay, so let's trace the line, and so that I can show you the three ways. So the first one is I will use a black line here. So the first one is, you see the line, with this shutdown valve at 307. Now that is the suction line to 307. That is the line that we use to transfer crude from our tankers down to 307. I think I've done this operation before. I think I've mentioned that earlier on. So this is called the suction line. So if you trace the suction line backward, if you do reverse engineering backward, you see that this line will be going this way. Okay, it will go this way, and it will get to this part, and then we have it going backwards. So you see, when it gets to this point, you see that we can go directly to 305. All right, so meaning we can actually transfer from 307 using this line backwards. Now what you need to do is let me change the color of the line. If you come to the pump here, you see that this pump, if you trace this line of the pump down here, you notice that you meet it at this point. You see, so what you have to do is to ensure that during this operation, to ensure that the lineup to the pumps are actually terminated. Okay, so as you can see, the shutdown valve is closed, but peradventure, if the shutdown valve is not closed, you can ensure that it is closed. So this is shutdown valve is open, so you can close it to ensure that we don't have a backward flow to the pump, because we don't know if any of the drain on the pump is open or not, or we don't know if any valve is open that can cause a leakage. Okay, so you ensure that you isolate the pump coming from the loading gantry down to 307. All right, so that is one aspect of it. Now the second aspect is Okay, now every tank has what we call the spare nozzle. Okay, they keep they actually keep a spare nozzle in terms of any future, connection or modification. All right, so let's use the blue line. So let's say we want to install a pump here, so we can just install a pump here, and then we connect a line to the spare nozzle. Then from here we can connect this down to this tank. Okay, so what it means is that we can actually use this pump to transfer the crude from 307 to 305. Now this is the second method. Now in my facility we have a pump like this that we use to do this transfer, but then most times we don't need it. We use what we call transfer by gravity. Now by gravity, we don't want to, let's say we don't want to disturb the power generation. We don't want to consume more power, and we just want to use by gravity to carry out this operation. Is easy, and that's because the capacity of V307 is much higher than the capacity of 305. Let's take for this example, the capacity of 307 is about 14,000 barrel. Okay, so if you convert that to liters, it might be around 360 something thousand liters or thereabout. I might be wrong, or you can just press the calculator and get that. But then the one for 305 is about 2,000 barrel. Okay, so you see the difference. It means if you have just like the height we have in this tank here, the height we have here, once you open a line up and then you line up down to 305, you note you instantly you see a flow to 307. That's because the pressure on 307 is much higher than the one that is going to be on 305 due to the surface area of 305 and that of 307. So that is the second option. And the third option is we are going to be using this discharge line. Okay, so the second line of the pipeline you're seeing here is called the discharge line. This discharge line is the line that we used to send the crude from the tank down to the process unit using a pump here called P303. I'm going to show you in a separate video how to use that pump to transfer crude to the process skid. Okay, but for now, if you trace the line backward, you notice that we'll get to this point. Now at this junction, you can see that if you continue upwards, it will get to the pump. Now we are not going to the pump, we are going to 305. So if we go backward, you see we get to 305. And as you can notice, there is nothing like a shutdown valve on this particular lineup. It's a discharge line. We don't need a shutdown valve in this regard. Okay, now we only have manual valves that you can close to isolate the flow of line in this area. So what we're going to do again is ensure that these other parts, the one going to the pumps, ensure that they are actually isolated. So let me take off these other lines. So we are going to be using the last method, which is the one from the discharge line. Okay, so I will take off this other line, take off this line, take off this line, and then take off this line. So we have just this line. So this is the method we're going to use to actualize this our operation. All right, so now like I said, I'm going to do it so that it sounds like the real operation in the field. Now the first thing is the control operator we call the field operator, and ask him that we need to commence this kind of operation. So let's assume that the control operator is Wale. Okay, so I'll make a call. Wale call back for Natty. Now Wale responds and try to find out what you need. All right, so Wale, we need to commence an intertank transfer of crude from 307 to 305. All right, so Wale in turn asks you, which method are we going to use? Now the control operator, like the name implies, is the person that actually gives the command for everything to go accordingly in order to carry out a given operation. So he has to be the one to specify the routes that we are going to use for this operation. Okay, Wale, since we are not in operation, let's use the discharge line of 307 to 305. Now when carrying out the operation, ensure that your pumps at P303 and P304 are isolated. Okay, All right, now with that command, Wale will go to the fields and ensure that he checks the lineup and ensure P303, P304, and every line is well lined up, isolated, and then the ones that are supposed to be open are open. All right, so Wale will confirm with the control operator and said, I have concluded the lineup. Now the only valve remaining to be open is the one at 307, the terminal valve at 307. Now it will also ask you how many percent you want the valve to be open, because you can't just go to the field and open the valve fully. You need to take permission from the control room to know how many percent the valve is going to be open. All right, so Wale open the valve 30%. Now why do we start from 30%? Now when carrying out an operation, you need to take it gradually, right? You need to start the flow rate small and then you increase it gradually. All right, so Wale opens it and we start the operation. Now in this regard, we have a manual valve here. Now usually manual valves are not supposed to be showing in our DCS, but I did this just for this training, so we can see a manual valve. You can see a manual valve at the discharge of 307. I'm trying to bring out the pen so I can show you that. So you see here, this is a manual valve. Okay, so this is what we're going to be using. Now, like I said, manual valves are not supposed to show in our DCS. They're supposed to be at the back end, okay, which is supposed to be opened by the field operator. So, but in this regard, I'll open it from the DCS here. All right, so I open the valve. Now, as you can see, we have a green display showing that the valve is open. Now, also let's zoom closer, and you can see the level of 307 is reducing gradually. Okay, now let's go to 305. Now also you can notice that the level of 305 is doing what? Is increasing. As you can see, is increasing. All right. Now also, depending on how long you want this operation to last, let's say you want the operation to last for like 5 hours. Now you can also ask Wale to go and increase the opening of the valve. Okay, after maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, you can tell him to increase the opening of the valve. Now I can do that from the control room because I programmed it to function that way. Now currently we are doing this transfer at let's say 500 liters per second, and that's about let's see 500 liters. Okay, so that's about 3.14 barrel per second. Now that's a bit high, but we need to increase it more because we want the operation to to finish in no time. So let me increase it. As you can see, this is in liters, so I want to increase it to 2000 liters per second. Now when I do that, you can check the flow rate. Now you see the flow rate. You see that our increment is now very high. Let's mark the level here. Okay, so you see the level is going up very fast. So that is how to carry out an intertank transfer operation from 307 to 305. So if you're done with the operation, we can just close the valve. So now the valve is closed. All right, so like I said earlier on, we have a lot of things that we're going to be showing you on this DCS. As you can see, we have a lot. We have the furnace, we have the tower here, which comprises of the stripper, the reflux drum. We have the kettle boilers, and we have a lot of things that we're going to be showing you. We have stripper here, we have the water tanks and firefighting system. So we have a lot of things we're going to be showing you, but we're going to be doing this gradually. So for this video, our purpose is actually for the intertank transfer. So we'll stop here. I will see you in the next video.